Okay, welcome back. This is part 2 of lesson 13, and we are on step 13 of lesson 13. This one here talks about inserting items into arrays. So we have another new command here called insert item, and it works just like append item. It creates a new location in the array. The difference, however, is that when you use append item, it always adds it to the end of the array. When you use insert, it allows you to insert it anywhere in the array, not just at the end. So first thing they want us to do is read the documentation for insert item. It's under variables. If you mouse over insert item, you get the blue box. You see examples. That's the documentation if you want to read that. So this one, it says here that excuse me. This one here, it says that you have starter code has been provided, which appends some strings to an array, but right now they don't form a complete sentence. We want to use insert item to individually insert strings to your array to form a complete sentence. And then use console log to print it out, which it already does that. It already shows us console log final sentence is, and then we put in sentence. So right now it says here we've got a few words, and the words in the array called sentence are today, I, want, to, and with. So what we have to do is make that look like a sentence by inserting other words into this array. So what we'd want to do is, if we look back up here, we use this insert item. So I'm going to take this, actually let me go ahead and switch back to blocks so we can see that. Take this insert item, and I'm going to put it here. It doesn't matter, either side of the comment is fine. And I want to put in a couple of those in there because I have today I want to blank and with blank. So I have to say, okay, I want to, so we need to put a word in here, so that's one word, and something else, and then with something else. So we need to put a total of 3 words in there probably for that to make sense. So we'll do another enter item and another insert item, and we're using this array here called sentence. So I'm going to replace list with that, and right now it's telling us the position is 2. Now you can tell what each one of these does. If we mouse over this, you can see that the first one is going to be whatever list we're using or whatever array we're using. The second one is the index place, and the last one is the item. So this is putting basically right now the letter C into the second index place, which we had to figure out where what index we want it to go into. So this is where it gets tricky because it's going to change as we add things in there. So for the first one, it's going to be relatively simple. We have today I want to blank. So what do we want to do? We'll say we want to run. So today I want to run. So we have to figure out where that is. So if I say 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, I want it to go into the 4th spot. So now when I go to the next one, so if I said to run and let's say play, then we have to remember that we inserted 1 in there. So before, where this was 4, now this is 5, and then the new one is going to be in, we want to put it in 6, I believe. So then we'll do that. So just to back up and show you what I did there, I've got 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 is where I'm going to put run, and now becomes 5. Play becomes 6, and then this becomes 7. So whoever I'm running and playing with should be 8. So I'm going to go ahead and put 8 in there, and I'm going to say run and play with Spot, my dog Spot. So now what should happen is we have this variable called sentence. It's an array. It has these 6 words in it. It's going to print the original sentence, which would be today I want to and with, And then we've inserted these three into spaces 4, 6, and 8, or index slots 4, 6, and 8. And these are the words run, play, and spot we've put in there. And then the console log is going to be a final sentence, and then it's going to show the updated array sentence. So if I click run, it's going to pop up down here in my console log. And so what it did here is, for some reason, I must have clicked on this on accident, but it's paused here. I don't know why it says the list hasn't been declared yet, but it says sentence, so that's correct. So it paused it there. We've done this before where we pause it, so I just click continue, and it's going to step through it, and there it is, the final one. So the original sentence was today I want to and with, and then my final sentence is today I want to run and play with Spot. So so that's how that works. But the trick to this one is you've got to remember you can't just say 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and then just put, like, say Spot in 5, because they change as you add as you insert them in. They just slide forward and all the other ones increase by 1. And that happens every time we do that. So that's all there is to that one. So we'll go ahead and click finish and continue. And now we're on 14. Now we're removing items. So this is exactly the same as the last one, it's just the reverse. And in this case, let me go to show blocks so you can see what I've got here is a sentence, and they've put in words that are just remove. So those are the ones I'm supposed to remove. And you have the same tricky piece that happens here, where once we remove this, which is obviously at 0, then this becomes 0, and this becomes 1, and this becomes 2, and so on. So we have to remember that. So I'm removing 1, 2, 3, 4. It looks like I'm removing 4 words. So I'm going to go ahead and get 4 remove items. I'm going to drag them up here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oops, I didn't catch it. There we go. Okay, so they're all in the variable sentence. So I'm just going to copy that and replace list, because list is not declared in here. Oh, and I must have accidentally grabbed an extra one there. Okay, so I may have an extra one. That's okay. So the first one I want to remove is 0. I know that. So now this becomes 0. This becomes 1. And this becomes 2. So I'm going to remove 2 as the second one. So that I remove 2, which means this becomes 2, 3, 4, 5. And now here's the tricky part. So I removed this at 5. Then this one becomes 5. So I'm actually removing 5 twice. And don't think like 5 and 6, because once this one's gone, this one slides up here and becomes 5. And I think that's the last one. Yeah, that's the last one. So I'm just going to drop that one out of there. So this, I'm removing 0, 2, 5, 5, 0, 2, 5, and 5, I think. We'll run it and check it just to make sure. So yeah, you can see the first one here. If you can see the console log down here, it says the original sentence had the remove, and I think I've removed all the arrays, all the removes, and it says today I'm excited to learn about arrays. So I've done that properly. Go ahead and do finish and then continue. And now moving on to 15. Okay, so this one's kind of weird. What this one does is it starts out with a bunch of code that's been commented out. Now I think we may have talked about that in the past before in some of the other lessons, but basically what that means is when we put these double slashes in here, that's a comment. And one useful, besides putting comments in here like we've done here, a multi-line comment has a slash in the asterisk down here and an asterisk slash to end it. So what it's doing here is it's putting a bunch of lines of code in here, and then it wants you to take the comments out of them one at a time. So it says the starter code's been provided, uncomment the first command, and then run the code. And what it's going to do, it's basically telling you that what happens if you do something wrong. So this one is just one that you're just doing something to see how it works. So I'm just going to uncomment that, and I'm going to run this, and you can see what's happening is it's inserting an item, and it's got a -1. So what happens when we put a -1 and it's inserting a 0 in there, it looks like. So I'm going to run, and then the printout down here shows what happened, what the final result was. So that's this console log down here. So apparently when we put a -1 at the at this point as the index, it puts it here. Now I don't know why. Like most of these things here are just weird things that you normally wouldn't do. So like it says here, most of this is, you normally wouldn't do this, but you can cause some weird things to happen if you do something like this. If you put a negative number in for the index, it's going to do something weird. So what it wants you to do then is just to go ahead and keep doing this. So you put those back. Now I'll run this one, reset, run it, and then you can see what happens when we say we put 40 and we put it in the index space 1000, and all it did here is it put it at the end. So you normally, like we said, you wouldn't normally say index space 1000 if you only have 5 things in the index or in the array, but that's what would happen if you did that. What happens if we insert, if we just say -1 and we insert a 0? Let's try that. Nothing. Didn't do anything. So what this isn't really replacing anything. What this is doing is this is just printing, or just changing the value of -1 to 0, but there is no -1, so apparently it doesn't change anything. And then the last one, or no, sorry, second to last one. Let's run that. So now we're saying what happens if we put in 1000 and we assign 40 to that. Run. Ooh, it gives us an error. Why does it give us an error? My array 1000 equals 40. Yeah, so okay, so it gives you an error if you do that. I think that was why it did that. I don't see any other reason why. And then we run this again. Okay, so now this worked. When we say 3 and then assign it to 40, that worked because we have 0, 1, 2, 3. So this is the only one that actually is done the correct way. All these others are errors and such. So that's just kind of show you what happens if you make a mistake. So we go on finish and continue. And now we're moving on to 16. We have another video. This is, we're going to talk about length in a minute, but you can watch that video if you want. And then we go on to 17. And 17 talks about using this list length. So let me go into blocks here. And basically what they want you to do is use that list length to figure out what is the length of these 3 arrays. So if you come down here, starter code, use list length and console log. So those are in my variables. I wanted to go with console log, and I'm going to need to do 3 of those. And there are a couple ways we can do this. I guess I'll do it the longer way. But here's list length. So I'm going to need, actually no, I don't want to drag it in there like that. What I want to do is, I've got 3 things here. I'm going to use my math function inside here. And I'm going to do I'm going to add the first one. I'm just going to say a string that says short. Oops, if I spell it right. So short is however many characters long it is. We'll see. That's the name of the first array. The second array is called words. So I'm going to say words is, and it's going to tell us how long a words array is. And the last one is called bits. So I'm going to say bits is. And now I want to use that index or that list length. So I'm going to come up here and drop those in here. and that's going to return the number, however many they are. Now the difference here is this isn't zero indexed when you use this. This is going to tell you actually how many are there. So if you have 0, 1, 2, 3, it's going to say there are 4 spaces there. So I'm just going to copy short and replace list here. I'm going to copy words here, replace list here, and I'm going to copy bits, replace it there. So now I should tell how long the short array is, the words array, and the bits array. So I'm going to run that. And then there it is. Short is 4, words is 15, and bits is 35. So I can real easy look at the short one. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 words in there, so that's working. I'm not going to count all 15, and I'm definitely not counting all 35 of these. I'll trust that it's right. So, but it did work. It told me how long those arrays were. That's what list length does. So I'm going to finish that, continue. And then now I'm moving on to 18, which talks about updating and assigning lists. No, lengths and indexes again. So expressions as indexes. So what this is what I was talking about a second ago, is if you have a list and you say, well, it's you know that it's how long it is. It's 5 characters long, but you want to know what's the index of the thing that's that's last, and you can figure out that by just doing my array length minus 1, because remember the array is 0 indexed, so we have that 0. We start out with 0, so we're subtracting 1, so we can get the number or the index of the last item on the list. So let me go back to blocks here. And I've got starter code has been provided. It creates several arrays. Use the syntax provided above and console log to display the final item in each list. So I want to print the final item. So I'm going to use my console logs. I've got 3 things going on there. So I'm going to do 3 console logs. And I'm going to do the same thing I did in the last one. I'm going to go get a math add operator. I'm going to drop it in here for my message that I want to print. Oops, I dropped that one in the wrong spot. There we go. And then I'm going to I want to get my I'm going to say what I want it to put out. So I'm going to say, actually, I'm not even going to waste that time. You don't even have to do that if you don't want to. What you can do is, let's see, we can use this. Let's see, this one right here, the access list item, which is what we're doing, because I'm just going to have it print the actual word. I'm not going to worry about all the little extra, this is the thing from this list and whatever. My list here is colors. Oh wait, you know what? I'm going to need to do no, I'm going to put that there. That's what I'm going to do. Okay, so then I'm going to put my subtraction thing right there. This is going to be the index because this is the index that I want to print. So that goes there. So for my colors list, I'm going to go here. For my numbers list, I'm going to use the next one. And for my pets list, I'm going to use this one. And now what I'm doing is I'm going to be subtracting 1 from the list length. So I'm going to take that up into the first one and drop that in there. I'm going to do the same thing for all of them because I'm doing the same thing for all 3. I'm just going to change the name of the, instead of list, I'm going to make sure it's the same thing here. So numbers, list, and pets. Oops, I messed that up. That said pets originally. There we go, pets, and then pets. So what I'm doing is I'm telling it to print out whatever is in the index position, the last one, which would be the colors length minus 1. So I'm going to just put 1s in all those. And then it's going to do the same thing for each one, but it says console log, the array called colors, print out colors length minus 1, which is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 minus 1 is 6. So index position 6 would be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it should print out, if we did it right, violet 100 bird. So let's go ahead and hit run. And there we go, violet 100 bird. So if you can see that in the console log. So what it's done is it's printed out the item in index position colors.length -1. So that's pretty simple there to do as well. Now we'll hit finish and we'll move on to continue. And then we're sitting on 20 minutes, so go about another 10 more minutes and then we'll maybe be able to finish up the last one. Or do this in one more video. So we've got 19 length and indexes, expressions as indexes using variables. So we can use any expression that evaluates to a number as an index in an array. So this thing here, the whichever index that we want to pull, we can use any kind of math expression in there. So in this case, they're saying if we said my array, take out that whatever is in 3 plus 2, so that's going to be 5, so it's going to be index position 5. If we wanted to pull a random number out of an array, we could do it the same way, or we could do it as some sort of variable plus 2. So if we had a variable that was x, it would add 2 to that and take it from that index position. So it says starter code has been provided. Write code that logs a random color from this list to the console by generating a value for a random index. Try to write your program using list length rather than hard coding the length of the list. Okay, so what they're telling us there is we wanted to print out a random color. So we could say console log, and drag that up in there. And what we wanted to print out is some sort of thing here from the access list item. So what we wanted to print out is something that's in colors, and we wanted to pick a random one of those. So we could come up here and just drag random number and put that in there. And it says 1 through 10. Now what it's saying, instead of hard coding, if I wanted to hard code that, then I would say 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I know the highest index number is 6, and I could say pick something between 1 and 6, and that will work. So if I run that, it says blue. I'm going to reset, run it again. It says indigo, reset, run it again. It says indigo again. So it's just picking a random number between 1 and 6. But you said, what about 0? I could have put 0 in there too. So that probably would have been better if I'm hard coding that. But what this is saying is try not to hard code it. Try to use list length. So how would we use list length? Well, we could do this. Instead of saying 6, we could go like this, and we could drag this up into the second one, and we could put in list length in this first minus thing here, and our list is called colors. So we're going to go list length -1. Oops, not minus minus, but -1. So in this case, what it's going to do, if we did this, we could keep adding things to this list, and this would change. So let's try to run that and see what happens. Run, so it gets green, reset, run, it gets green again, reset, run, it gets indigo, reset, reset, run, it gets indigo again, reset, run, it gets yellow. So it's making this into a 6 right now. But let's say, for example, if I want to take I subtracted 1. If I want to add another thing to here, and let's say I'll say purple, and then I'll add another one, and I'll say white, and then I'll add another one, and we'll put in there black. So now what I've got here is I've added more, but I don't have to change this because this is going to be the same. My list is longer, and I'm just saying whatever the length is -1. So reset, hit run. Ooh, and I got an error. I think because I see. No, did you see what I did? I didn't put these as strings. You gotta put the quotes in there. If you don't put quotes, it doesn't recognize it as a string. It thinks it's a variable, and it's looking and it says, I don't see a variable called black. Ooh, I messed that up. So that's why you got to make sure that you put your quotes in, and that's what happens if you don't put quotes in. So I put them in quotes. Let's run that again. Okay, so there we go. So now I've got green. Let's see if I can get it to get one of the new ones. Indigo. purple. Yep, so we just got, I added purple, indigo, which I guess are the same, aren't they? Indigo. Ooh, it keeps on hitting indigo a lot. White, so there we go. So see, it's just picking the list of the total of the list and subtracting 1, which gives it the last index position. So that's real easy there. We'll go ahead and finish that one out and continue. And now we're on to 25 minutes and we're at 20. And I want to go, let's see, I want to go to one point here. Oh yeah, this is okay. So this is the start. This is the start of what I was just thinking of. So this is I like this little app here that we're going to build. This is called My Favorite Things, and for this 20, you don't have to do anything. So what I'm probably going to do, I'm probably just going to go straight through and make this video a little longer because I want to do all this in one shot. So, but what this is a Favorite Things app, and it's real simple. If we click Run, and it's got Saturday, I click Next, Sunday, Pizza, Sunday. Oops, it skipped one. Pizza, Saturday, Sunday, Pizza, Saturday, Sunday, and you can see at the top here it says 1 of 3, 2 of 3. 3 of 3. And now if I add something else, like let's say I want to put something else as one of my favorite things, say ice cream, I don't know, ice cream, and I click add, it adds ice cream on the list. So now ice cream is added to my list. So if you could imagine this as a shopping list, and there are apps out there that do this, if I say, okay, grapes, and then add, so it's going to add grapes to the list. Okay, so you see what's happening there? We're going to make that app. So we're going to hit finish here. This one we didn't have to do anything, just play with it. And now 21 is when we're first starting to do it. So we're going to go through 21 up to, I think it is 29. Yeah, so 29 in building this app. So it says creating IDs. Remember, we want to use meaningful names for all the IDs. So create a descriptive, meaningful ID. So Scream 1, yep, I'm going to call it Scream 1. Everything else here, if you look, is just kind of labeled like as label and whatever. Let me start with the last button. It's just called button 1. I'm going to call it last button. Next, I'm going to call it next button. Add, I'm going to call, and I'm in the design mode, so that's what I'm doing here. I'm going to call that add button. Oops, spell it right. This one right here, this is a text input, and it says text input 1. So it's my only text input, so I'm just going to leave that there. Actually, I'm just going to call it text input. But I'm going to use I've been using the camel case, so instead of the whatever that's called, the with the underscore. But so I'm just going to change it to camel case and call that text input. This thing here is called text area. I'm going to call that print out area because that just makes more sense to me. Then up here, this little thing up here that shows 0 of 0 or 1 of 1, that's called label 2, and I don't know, let's see, what are we going to call that? I'm going to call that the counter, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, call it counter because it counts things. And I don't need to worry about this label. Maybe, I'll put it in there. Why not? We'll call it fave things label, even though we're not changing that at all. Only thing we're really messing with is the next last add, this one, the text area, and we're messing with this thing up here, the counter. So all that's done. Once you've named all your different design elements there. So I'm gonna, well, actually, if you hit run, it's not going to do anything. So I'm going to go ahead and go on to the next one, finish, continue, and now the next part is where we start getting into the coding for this. Like, how is this going to work? So now that we've dealt with our design elements, we need to start writing the actual code. This keeps track of list items. So do this. Create an array that will hold your list of favorite things. Add 3 of your own favorite things to your array. So real simple. It's not that difficult. We're just going to go, let's see, do they have a... They don't actually have one that we can just pull up and say it's an array. We'll just make it an array. I'm going to go to blocks here. Ooh, it doesn't like that because I didn't finish filling that out. So we'll do that. Go to blocks. I'm going to pick a variable. drag it up there. And this one is going to be called fave things, and that's my array. So if it's an array, I have to have those brackets on there, the square brackets, and it automatically figured that out for me. So next I want to, I created that array, it's blank, and I want to add 3 things. So I'm going to use the append. I'm going to put 3 things in there. So I'm going to drag 3 appends up. I'm going to append 3 things to that list of fave things. So there it is. So I'm going to replace list here with fave things, fave things. And my first thing I'm going to say is pizza. Second thing I'm going to say is ice cream, not ice cream. Ice cream. And then the next thing I'm going to say is grapes. I love grapes. Okay, so those are my 3 things. That's all you have to do for the first thing. This thing will not do anything right now because all we have is an array with 3 things in it. So if we hit run, nothing happens. So we'll just hit finish and continue. Then the next thing, we're getting on to 23. And then 23, we are going to start adding some more code here in a second. Okay, so I'm going to go back to blocks. Now it says displaying information to the user. So we want to use the set text to set the main area to show your first favorite thing. So using set text and list length, set the text indicating what item of the list the user is currently viewing. So hint, since arrays are 0 indexed, you will have to add 1 to your index to generate the correct value to display. And then for now you can just write in a 1 and worry about making it change later. Neither of these outputs you'll be able to change yet, so all that stuff we'll be doing later. So it says I want to do a set text button. So if I come down here, it's under UI controls, it's set text, and I want to set the text of this area here, which is called printout area. So that's use my ID and find printout area. And what I want to set here is I want to put the favorite things thing in there. So what I can do is, let's find a good way to do this. Let's see here. Okay, so I've got the set text printout area, and I'm just going to set this to whatever is in the 0 right now. So if I go to variables and then I say I want to put this, or no, I take that back. Do I want to do that? Yes, I want to do that. Put that in, oops, that's not going to fit in there. So what I want to do is use the, where is it at? Oh, there it is. The list length, or not, sorry, list length. That's not what I want. What I want is not the insert item. They've added a bunch of things in here. Where did it go? I want the one that's going to pull this thing, and I'm not seeing it in there. And that's weird. Okay. So what I can do instead, since I'm not seeing it there, I'm going to go to show the text. And what I want here is I want that thing that said the name of my list, which is called fave things, and then my square brackets. And then I said I'm going to, with the thing in position 0. So let me turn it back to blocks and see if it changes it. Yeah, that's what I wanted, but I didn't see that over here. And I must have missed it. It's not remove item. It's not length. It's, oh, there it is. No, it's not string length. It's not that. Yeah, so I didn't see it there, so I did it in text. I'm not sure if the original they want you to do the whole thing in text or not, but that's what I want. I want to print out whatever's in spot 0. So just to make sure that works, we could hit run, and you can see pizza is in spot 0, so it printed out pizza. Now the next thing I want to do is I want to change this thing up here, what I call the counter, and I want it to show one of however many things are in there, because it said here I can just write one and worry about making a change to it later. So that is going to be in my set text as well. So there it is. Actually, it's already got a default in there, I think. So I think I want to do set text. I called it counter, so I'm going to put that in there. And then I want it to say, use my math function to do some addition to it. And I'm going to say one of, so I got to put that in quotes, one of blank number, this is where I want to do the list length. So for list length, I can go in here and I can drag up list length. And now it should tell me that there are 3 things on my list. So this should change to one of 3 up here when I do this. So if I hit reset and then run, okay, it says pizza, and I have an error here. Oh, because I forgot to put in fave things. This should say fave things instead of list, sorry. So oops, I messed that up too. One of this many things. List length is not what I want. I want to put the name of my list, which is fave things, in there, and then reset, and then run. And then there we go. So now it says one of 3 things because it knows my list has 3 things in the list. Later on, we'll change this 1 here, so it doesn't say 1. So it will actually say whatever number that is in the thing. But it said don't worry about that. We can change that later. So that's all we have to have for this part. And we hit finish and continue. And then the next part is 24, and I am at 36 minutes. That's okay. And it's loading slowly. So now what I want to change back to blocks here. And it says this app also allows a user to scroll through the individual items in the array. In order to keep track of which index we are currently viewing, our application will need a global variable that stores the current index. And then the coming exercises will want our global index to change, so we'll make sure that our code references the global index. So it says do this, create a global variable. That means a variable that's at the top. It's outside of any kind of functions or anything that we have. So we're going to go into variables. We're going to make this new declare a variable here. I'm going to put it straight at the top, and it's going to keep track of the current index. So I'm just going to call it current index, and that means whichever one is being displayed here is the current index. And it says do that, keep track, set the variable to 0 for now. So I'm just going to go ahead and put it to 0. And then it says update the set text to display the words to show your favorite thing using the global index variable instead of a hard-coded number. So this one here, instead of saying favorite things is 0, then we want to change that to whatever the current index is. So instead of putting in 0 here, I can just type in current index. And then I can also do that here, which I think that might be, so update set text, which displays the words, update set text, which displays the current item number to use the global index. So instead of 1 down here, I'm just going to go ahead and drag another plus sign in there, because I know I'm going to have to put the of in there. So I'm going to have to say of, and then a space. I left some spaces in there. And now this one here is also going to be current index. So whatever the current index is plus of plus the favorite thing's length. So let's go ahead and run that and just make sure it looks right. So right now actually it's saying 0 of 3 items because the current index is 0. So if I wanted to, there it says hint 0 index will have to add 1 to your index. So instead of just saying current index, what I can do is I'm going to go into text to make it easier to edit this. I can say current index +1, and then plus of, and I'm going to get rid of that because I don't need that. I put this one here in the in these parentheses, so it's so it does that first. Then it's going to add of, and then it's going to do the favorite things length. Let's show blocks and see what that looks like. Yeah, so it does that. And now let me go ahead and reset and run. Okay, so now it's 1 of 3 and it says pizza, and so everything looks like it's working properly. So that's all we have to do for this, for step 24. And now I'm going to go on to the next one. So hit finish and continue. And I'm at 40 minutes. And I'm just going to keep going, even if this is a long video, because I don't want to stop in the middle of this one. We only have a few more to do. 4 more to do. It's not that hard to do. Okay, so nice work. So let's go to show blocks so you can see it a little easier. Then it says now we need to add event handlers to the next button. So this is for just the next. Event handlers are the on events right here. So if I go down to on event and drag that in there, the next button is what I want. So on ID next button is right there when it's clicked. So write in code in this event handler that increments your global index variable and then updates the output on the screen. So note, if your code from the last exercise was written to reference this variable, then you should just be able to reuse it once you've incremented your variable, blah, blah, blah. We'll talk about that more. And then run your program to make sure that works. So we want to be able to click this, and we want to increase current index, and then update the screen. So with that, what we want to do is they haven't told us to create any functions yet, but what we could do that, but we're not going to do that right now. We'll just copy some stuff in here. So let's see. Recording or not. There. Okay, I'm having problems with my recorder. I think I'm good now. Okay, so this next thing here, what we're trying to do is we want to increase this current index thing. So what we can do is we could use that current index ++ would probably be the easiest way to do that. So but we can't do that in here. There's no way to do that I know of using these variables. So I'm going to switch to show text, and then inside here, inside my event, which is my next button, I'm going to type current index ++, and then semicolon. Okay, so I'm going to go back to show blocks so you can see that a little better maybe. So there it is, current index ++, and what that's going to do is every time I click this next button, it's going to increase this to the next number. So then what we want to do is we want it to also update all these screens. We're changing 2 screens here, these 2 printout areas. We want to update that to also happen every time we click a button. So what we probably would normally do is I would probably put these 2 set texts in a function, and then I just have it run that function down here. And we may do that later. I forget. The last time I did this, I forget if they tell you to do that later or not. But what I'll do is I'm just going to go to show text, and the 2 things I want to copy are these 2 set text items, and I'm just going to copy that. I'm going to put them right after the current index ++. So it happens every time I push the button. So now you can see there they are. I just copied them, same exact thing. Just so now when I push the button, it increases the current index by 1, and then it changes that. So I'm going to run it, make sure it works. So right now it's at pizza. I click next. Okay, so now it went to 2. I click next. Now it went to 3. But here's the problem. When I click next again, it's not going to work. Nothing happens because I've only got 3 things, and this thing here is doing all kinds of weird things, and I'm getting errors and everything. So now I have to go back and I have to program the last button. So that's going to be the next one. So we go ahead. Ooh, wait a second. It says keep working. Oh, because I messed this up. Hold on. Let me reset this. Let me reset it, and then something I did here caused it to freak out. Let me try that. Continue. Yeah, okay, that worked. So I think because I had it all messed up, it wouldn't let me go on. Okay. So next thing here, once this 26 loads, and I'm at 45 minutes, is now we're going to do the last button. So okay, so here's where we're doing the function. So it says removing repeated code. So write a function that contains the set text commands. So if I go into blocks here, what I want to do is functions are up here, and I'm going to use the one that just says function, defining a function. I'm going to take that up here and put it right below my items. I'm going to take my 2 set texts, put it in there, and now I'm going to get rid of these 2. Get rid of those 2, and now I want it to call a function, so I'm going to use this one down here to call a function, and my function is going to be called, instead of my function, I'm going to call it reset the screen, I guess, because that's what's going to reset all the things on the screen. And now I'm going to say down here I want it to call reset screen, and now I want to do another button for the last button. So I'm going to use an on event, and then I'm going to click here and I use last button, and then on click I'm going to do the same thing, except this time I'm subtracting, and then I'm also putting in a reset screen. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that reset screen. Oops, capital S for me. You can type whatever you want in there. Then I want to do the current index minus minus, and I'm going to go into show text to do that. So I'm going to put it right before reset screen. So current index minus minus. Don't forget to put the semicolon, and then go back to show blocks. Okay, so now I've got that all in there. Let's see if it works. Run. And now if I'm at 0, 0, I click next. It didn't start out at 1. It started out at 0. So that's something else we'll have to fix later. So now I'm at 2 of 3. I hit next. I'm at 3 of 3. Now I don't want to click it again because it's going to give me that error. I'm going to go back. So my last button and next button seem to work, but I don't want to go out of that range because it'll throw that error again. So this is what I have so far, what I need so far. And 26, 27, so we've got 3 more to do, and I have got 48 minutes. Actually, I am going to go ahead and pause there, and then I'm going to do one more after this one that should be a relatively short one to wrap this up as a part 3. So I'll be back in a couple of minutes with part 3 of lesson 13 in Code.org's Unit 5.